Welcome to If You Know Someone with a Vagina,
or as we like to call it, IYKSWAV.
IYKSWAV. Hi, I'm Sandi.
And I'm Beth.
We're recently retired nurse practitioners, excited to bring you a podcast filled with informative insights, compassionate discussions, inclusive perspectives, and expect a healthy dose of humor. Whether you have a vagina or you know someone who does, this is the podcast for you.
The content of this podcast is provided for general informational and entertainment purposes only and is not intended as, or should it be considered, a substitute for professional medical advice. In today's episode, HPV, warts and all, we are discussing human papillomavirus.
So this is going to be a little different than just sharing information. We want to have a heartfelt conversation with you as an individual possibly being diagnosed with HPV. We're going to validate some feelings you might be having and help you navigate discussions with partners.
We are so excited to have our very first guest on IYKSWAV, and she is awesome.
So totally awesome.
So our good friend Mickey is going to share with us her very personal journey with HPV-related cancer.
And it's a doozy.
Then our survey says we explore some significant and inspiring responses from people directly affected by HPV. Stay tuned.
Thanks again for taking our survey. But first, enjoy our Vajingle.
So easily. Prevention is the key. Now, it's only gonna reach you. Might get a heart pain. Make up cancer might hibernate. So before exposure, you should vaccinate. HPV, protect your body, we got the key. Get the shot, it's the remedy. Guys and girls, equally happy you and me, baby. HPV, protect your body, we got the key. Shot is the remedy. Guys and girls, equally happy you and me, babe.
If you clicked on this podcast because you or a friend have been diagnosed with cervical HPV and you didn't get all your questions answered, you're in the exact right place you need to be. If it was you, it's possible you couldn't even hear the information at the time you were told you had HPV. Likely you were in a bit of shock.
Right? You get that soft ringing in your ear.
Yeah, a little woozy, and you just can't take anything in.
And not everyone has been out there Googling HPV or discussing it with friends, family, or even their provider.
So true. So what we're going to do is give you the information that we would want you to know as providers. And you'll get some bonus down-to-earth girlfriend talk, too.
Ooh, like that. HPV is short for human papillomavirus. There are over 200 types of HPV. Ooh, more than 150 of these types just cause infection on the skin, like regular plain old skin warts.
And Beth, did you know that all warts are caused by HPV?
Are they?
Yeah, I Googled it.
We Googled a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Today we're going to focus on the HPV types that are sexually transmitted, and they're referred to as genital HPV types. So these types can affect the genital area as well as mouth and throat.
Yeah, and there are two types. There are low risk and high risk groups, I should say. But both types, you may not have any symptoms. And if you got a healthy immune system, it will probably just clear out on its own within 1 to 2 years. So with the low risk types, you may develop anogenital warts, which are small growths that can form on the vagina, vulva, penis, anus, or even the skin near the areas. They're usually small, firm, rough, not smooth, and can be skin-colored, pink, or brown.
Now, unfortunately, the high-risk types can lead to cancer, which includes cancer of the cervix, anus, mouth and throat, vagina, vulva, and finally, the penis.
Normally, you would have gotten the HPV diagnosis from the result of a pap smear, since this is the only currently available screening for someone with a vagina. The first thing we want you to know is you are not alone.
You are not. In fact, Sandi, this is the most common STI in the country.
Yeah, approximately 85% of us will have contracted at least one type of genital HPV in our lifetime.
So think about it this way, listeners. Having HPV simply means you, like so many others, have been exposed to a very common virus.
Yeah.
In fact, Sandy, have you ever had HPV?
You know I did. If you've listened to any of our other podcasts, you know God gives me everything so I can be that much more of an empathetic provider. So, yeah, I had it in my mid-20s, and it went away after they did some freezing, they called it at the time. And after that, all my pap smears were normal. And I haven't seen that done in
that
a long time. Yeah.
Do you remember how you felt when you got diagnosed?
I felt all the feelings. So, I mean, even though I was a badass ICU nurse, I really didn't know that much about HPV. So I had all the feelings. And you guys out there, please know that after you've been diagnosed and you have all the feelings, this is normal.
Totally normal.
Normally, they include anxiety, fear, confusion, anger, or maybe shame. And I hate that for you because I just want you to let that one go. It doesn't serve us. You have nothing to be ashamed of, and it's not helpful for any of us moving forward.
Well, yeah, think about all the people who have it and don't even know it.
Yeah.
Are they feeling shame?
No. And so why should we?
Some people may feel less interested in sex at first.
And less desirable.
Mm-hmm.
Or have an outlandish notion that they may never be able to find a sexual partner again. And as a girlfriend, I want to tell you that's nonsense.
I mean, think about it. Future potential partners with penises aren't even being screened. So there is no way to know if they have it or not.
Right. And if you feel the need to share your HPV status with them, which you don't have to, and they're turned off, they are definitely not a worthy partner for you.
No, red flag.
Absolutely. Now let's talk anger and blame for a second. You may want to point your anger at your current sex partner or past sex partners, even though it is usually not possible to know exactly when or from whom you acquired the virus. What I find the most fascinating about HPV that may not be common knowledge is that it can take weeks, months, or even years after exposure to show symptoms or appear on a pap smear.
Remember, listeners, though, a healthy immune system generally will clear the virus within 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, but in some, it can remain dormant for decades, reproducing within the cells of your body, which means you can spread it to others.
So your recent diagnosis of HPV does not necessarily mean anyone has been unfaithful, even in a long-term monogamous relationship.
That's right. So you and your current partner, if you have one, need right now education and compassion. Compassion for yourself and each other. This should be one of the last things that leads to a breakup.
Hey, Sandy, do you remember when you got diagnosed with HPV? Did you tell your partner?
Yeah, I was lucky at the time. I was dating a student doctor.
Oh, so
who was
knowledgeable, yes.
Well, or overly interested in, ooh, can I see?
Oh my God.
But it really did make it easier for me, so I am grateful.
Yes, well, remember, as Sandy likes to say, only date smart people.
That's right.
Okay, Sandy, what advice would you give the partners about testing for HPV?
Well, current partners are likely already sharing the virus back and forth. Testing options, especially for cisgender men, are limited and very situational, and most cases are never diagnosed. Screening for men usually consists of a visual inspection, to look for lesions such as warts, and if they had a wart, that only means that they had one of the low-risk HPV types that causes warts.
Right. It doesn't even mean that they ever had the high-risk type that caused the abnormal pap test.
Exactly. And same-sex partners are either going to clear it out on their own Or if it does cause changes on their cervix, it'll get picked up on their routine pap smear.
Okay, so you're saying non-routine pap smears are unnecessary.
Exactly, because it takes a long time for any changes to show up. So to clear up any more confusion that comes with diagnosis, having an abnormal pap test or HPV does not mean that you have cancer.
Oh my! So Sandi, you were a woman's health provider. Did any of your patients think that?
Yeah, it's really surprising because it happens more than you think.
Yeah, that is surprising.
Yeah, so patients will come in and they'll say they had cervical cancer while I'm taking their history, and I'm like, well, I combed through your chart and I don't see any cancer. So likely they just had an abnormal pap smear. And so if this has happened to you, that you think you have had cancer, but talk it over with every provider that you see and say, did I have cancer? Or did I just have an abnormal pap smear? Because we don't want you to go through life thinking you had cancer when you didn't.
Yeah. So even with your HPV diagnosis, you will most likely lead a normal, healthy life as one of the millions of people on the planet hosting HPV.
Yeah, millions is right. So to help cope with HPV emotionally, though, please talk to someone you can trust, such as a friend or loved one, or a supportive healthcare provider. I realize speaking it out loud makes it real, but it is also the best way to gain some emotional comfort and at least begin to put it in the rearview mirror.
So speaking of that, moving forward, it is essential to follow your healthcare provider's recommendations for follow-up pap smears and regular checkups.
And it's important for you to take charge of those things that you can do to help your immune system clear out HPV on its own. If you're smoking, this is the time to quit. The chemicals in cigarette smoke can cause inflammation and damage to the mucosal lining and impair immune function at the cellular level, hindering HPV clearance.
So if you support your immune system with healthy eating, exercise, adequate sleep, and stress management, you will likely clear the infection naturally.
Yeah, definitely, Beth. And I would also encourage you to call or email your provider with any questions. You don't have to wait until your next appointment.
Hey, Sandi, what's the first thing you think of when it comes to prevention of any STI?
Abstinence?
Oh, no.
Yes, but also condoms and dental dams help, but they do not completely protect against HPV. And that's because the virus can live on the skin that is not covered by a condom or dental dam. And since HPV can't be cured, the best way to protect against HPV is to get the HPV vaccine.
It only works, though, if it is given before you get infected with HPV.
Right.
That's why it is recommended in children, usually age 11 to 12, but it can be given as early as age 9 and up to age 26.
Yeah, that's right. I wish we had it, but there is a stigma about a vaccine for children related to a sexually transmitted disease. And the children themselves, I have heard, have even refused to receive the vaccine thinking, I'm never going to have intercourse.
Right?
Gross.
Yeah.
I mean, cooties. Ew. And that they or their future partners will ever have intercourse out of wedlock. They believe they'll never get a divorce or lose a spouse or have multiple partners that they shouldn't even have to think about that when they're talking about the vaccine with their parents. I mean, what it is just a vaccine that helps prevent cancer.
Yeah, there you go. In some cases, the vaccine might help older people too.
Cool.
In 2018, the FDA expanded the approved age range for one of the vaccines to include individuals up through age 45.
Still, the chances that they have never contracted HPV is low, so talk to your provider and decide on an individual basis if this is right for you. It is too late for us, Beth.
Oh, I know. We're old. But I wish we had it when we were young.
Me too.
I could have used it, you know what I'm saying? But we want you to know HPV vaccination works, and it is proven to be safe and effective.
Yeah.
HPV infections, genital warts, and cervical precancers have decreased significantly since the vaccine was introduced in the United States.
All right. And remember, HPV can cause several kinds of cancer, and most of the cancers caused by HPV may not be detected until they're further along. So HPV vaccination prevents infections that can cause these cancers.
So what you're telling me, Sandy, is HPV vaccination is cancer prevention.
That's right. HPV vaccination does not change the recommendations for screening either.
Okay, good to know. And guess what, listeners? We have another great analogy for you.
Love a good analogy. Think of HPV as a computer virus that sneaks into your system through a seemingly harmless download. There are many different types of computer viruses, too, and most are harmless, but others can cause serious problems. So exposing you to security risks like damaging your files or crashing your whole system.
And the more attachments you open, like in those phishing scams, the greater the odds are of accidentally downloading a computer virus. And by that time, it's too late to buy the antiviral software.
Yeah, the HPV vaccine acts like antivirus software that you install ahead of time. It doesn't remove the virus if it's already in your system, but it creates a strong defense against the most dangerous types.
So this way, if the harmful strains of HPV try to attack, your immune system is prepared to block them before they cause any damage.
And I think we can all agree, preventing cancer is way better than treating cancer.
And who better to attest to this, Sandy?
Mickey!
Yay!
You're about to listen to our discussion with a survivor of HPV-related cancer coming up next.
Well, listeners, today we have, I'm so excited, a very special guest, one of my really, really, really good friends, Nikki LeVar.
Yay, Mickey! Welcome!
Welcome!
Hello, ladies.
Let me tell the listeners first, because Mickey is world-renowned. She's a RN, registered nurse. She's been an oncology certified nurse for, 25 years?
Yep.
25 years, recently retired. And the reason she is our guest today, listeners, Mickey is a survivor of HPV-related oropharyngeal cancer.
That's right.
Welcome, Mickey.
Thank you, ladies.
Yay!
I'm so honored to being your first guest.
You're first
Yes,
guest.
you
I am the first.
Yes!
Oh, my God.
So happy to have you. I've adored you from afar for a long time,
Aw.
ever since I met you, and I've adored you close up as well.
Back at you, girls.
Yeah, so I remember working down the hall from Beth for several years, and I was doing my GYN women exams, et cetera, and running the high-risk breast program, and you were right down the hall from me doing everything oncology.
Everything oncology. And who would come up every day and bring me lunch, and we would share lunch.
Yeah, because Mickey was a chemo queen. Yes.
I was.
She was my work bestie.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the original, the chemo queens.
Yeah, so when I always heard you coming or smelled the delicious food, and then I was like, oh, maybe I could squeeze out a 10-minute break too and just come down and insert myself into your lunch.
They were fun.
We were fun.
Mickey always was like, go get a chair. Yes, come in. So welcoming. And so I totally fell in love with you. And when I had Beth as a student, we had the best time. But we had worked in that clinic together when we were even younger.
Yeah, way back.
Way back when we were in our 20s, too.
Well, you know what I realized the other day? I've known Mickey for 20 years because I was pregnant with my daughter.
That's
Remember
right.
that?
That's right.
And
And then the three of us got to go to Las Vegas for a breast conference.
Well, you know what? Our audience doesn't need it.
There's a back alley stories on that one.
But the best part of the Las Vegas trip was the Australian Bee Gees.
We did. That was awesome.
It was so good. And it was interesting how people could pick up that Mickey was the cool one right on the street when we were walking down the street. hey, you want to buy some? I was like, no, thank you.
But then we did get to go see the Thunder Down Under.
Oh,
So we went from being I think the youngest in the crowd at the Bee Gees to the oldest at the Thunder Down Under.
yeah,
They
exactly.
were free tickets. Just I need our audience. Remember, we were leaving the Australian Bee Gees. Yeah.
Yes.
And this woman comes up to us and she says, "I have some free tickets." And wait, I'm trying to remember the story.
Were you here for the conference? And we said, yeah, we're cancer nurses or whatever. We're working on, cancer. And she had just gone through cancer treatment or something. And she said, I'm trying to give away these tickets, and I'd really love to give them to you because of your backgrounds and stuff.
So we had to go see Half Naked Men.
Yes.
It's really a choice. I mean,
I'm telling you, Beth and I were trying to hide. Just go, don't come over here. Like if they go out in the audience, like they were all like the same age of my son. So it's like, oh, I can't even look.
oh, it was good times. Good times.
Thank you, Mickey, for encouraging that.
Welcome, girls.
Let's go. Let's do it. Love ya.
Well, now we got to kind of change track because we got to talk about Mickey's journey with her HPV-related cancer. So,
All right.
let's change the mood, folks.
Yeah.
I feel like our listeners would like, I think for the first question is, how did you first realize that something was even wrong, and what led you to go seek some help?
All right. Having been an oncology nurse for so many years and working with so many different types of cancers and different patients and having so many different experiences with treating different types of cancer. I always know early detection was kind of one of our things that we would always tell people, if something's going on, make sure you bring it to the doctor's attention.
Yes.
But I had just come back from a vacation, and it was the height of COVID.
Yeah.
And so I came back, and the hospital's on full alert. We had to wear N95 masks in the chemo room, and for 10 hours a day. And I had just a little sore throat, and I was just thinking, you know what? Because we're wearing these N95 masks all day long, kind of mouth breathing, and I just it was just when I would swallow left side, it was just a little sore throat, so I would Secrets or something to soothe my throat. And then after probably 3 weeks, I'm like, I should probably go and see my primary care doctor and see what she says. And she looked in there and she goes, you know what? I see a little crypt by your tonsil. It might be sometimes so of course I had no idea what that was, so I had to Google
Tales from the crypt.
Oh, okay. So sometimes food gets trapped in there, and it's kind of like diverticulitis of your throat.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes, but I'm gonna have you go see the ear, nose, and throat doctor just to be safe. So I tried to get an appointment in there, and I couldn't get an appointment for a while. And then all of a sudden, I was working one day, and I get a call, and they go, the doc had just had an opening. Do you want to come up and see him? So I'm like, yes.
See, that's the benefit of working.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what the perks. It's like,
Cancellation or no show, you're right there.
it's like, I'm here. So it's like, hey, girls, cover me. And I ran upstairs, and I got in there, and doc comes in, and he's got his little mask on, and I had to say, and I looked at him, and I looked at his eyes, and I went, uh-oh.
Oh, wow.
And I said, yeah. He kind of, when he first looked at it, and I said, oh, Jay, you wouldn't be a very good poker player.
Wow.
You're showing your cards. And I said, cancer? And he said, yeah, I think so. So all of a sudden it was like, and I really did not see that coming,
No.
And it was like, all of a sudden he's like, you're coming back at the end of the day. We're going to biopsy this. And so all of a sudden it was just like that moment in your life, you go, whoa, you hear those 3 words that you have cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, everything kind of tips upside down, and you're just like, and I had to go back down to work.
Well, that's the thing with you. You already know. You know what's ahead of you.
Yeah.
You know.
I like, whoo, and all your neurons are kind of firing, and you're like, oh, wow. So I'm like, well, I'm going back into the the infusion center, and I walk back in there, and all the girls, my chemo queens, all kind of look at me, and I'm like, you guys, and my nurses start crying, and I'm like, and so I was like, you guys, no, it's gonna be okay. Yeah, I was comforting them,
Right.
because it was like,
Right.
we're gonna be okay. We got this. And I really did.
Wait a second, it's about me.
I know. Yeah, to be the strong one.
Yeah. And it was like, and I don't think I got hit by that chemo bus that kind of hits you, and you're kind of like, what? It just kind of evolved, and things happened really fast, with getting for the PET scan and the scans, and kind of seeing for so many years of ordering those kind of tests for your patients, and them going through those, it's that taste of your own medicine. It's like things you've been encouraging people to do. All of a sudden you're in
system.
that world, in that system.
Yeah.
And you're like, ooh. And I can see how it can get really frustrating with waiting and
the scheduling of
the
everything.
scheduling. Sometimes getting results of tests that you
want
didn't know what they said.
Yeah.
Like kind of going, ooh. So that was a little crazy how it came about. But it's just one of those things that you're in this world that you never expected.
Yeah, you did a great job going in within the 3 weeks, because a lot of people would have waited even longer, especially having a dry throat all day from those masks. And did some of the other nurses say, yeah, my throat's dry too?
Oh, yeah. That was something that made you in, because if it just started out as just a little sore throat. So I always say, and had I just kind of blew it off and not really done anything about it, let it go on and just do the secrets, it was stage 2 when I was diagnosed. So that's fairly early.
Yeah.
And finding out that it was related to so we did the pathology, got the results. It was squamous cell carcinoma, stage 2. And we had to wait a few days to see if it was associated with the part of the HPV. It's called a protein P16. So we waited. That was a couple more days after the.
So just for our listeners, because not all throat cancers are HPV related. Some can be due to smoking, to other issues, but the ones that are HPV positive, it's actually kind of a good sign, because they're way better treated response to treatment.
Yeah. That's what the oncologist had said. So as the next thing I knew, I was getting scheduled for 6 rounds of weekly chemotherapy once a week, and then radiation 5 days a week for 6 or 7 weeks.
Quite the journey. I remember Nikki going through it, and it was handled it like a champ, though.
And how do you look so good?
Fake it till you make it, baby.
Yeah, you've been through it, but yeah, you're so resilient.
What do you think? Do you think that experience changed your outlook on life, on health, on your relationships?
Oh, it definitely did, and I was in my 60s, so it's like I was kind of thinking retirement was down the road a ways. And I had taught head and neck cancer for a lot of years, and it wasn't my most favorite cancer.
It's a hard
to be honest with you. It's a hard cancer. It's like sometimes
the treatment's really hard.
The treatment's hard. It's, and it can be, if you catch it early, it can be very curable.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. But a lot of with the radiation treatments, there can be a lot of issues with swallowing, because it dries up your saliva. You can have issues not being able to eat. So I had to have a feeding tube, because I knew I'm not a big foodie. So I knew that nutrition was going to be a big issue. And that was probably one of my number one issues was trying to get enough calories in, and because it changes the way food tastes. Everything from water tasted like salt, and sweets, I couldn't taste sweets. And so it really does mess up your taste buds, and pretty much everything has a little effect. And it gets worse the more cycles you go into. So it kind of builds up to.
Yeah.
A lot of side effects. A lot
Yeah.
of side effects with that treatment.
I think it's, thinking back, because you guys talked about a lot of the HPV, some of the statistics of HPV, and that you think about it, that 8 out of 10, I think it's like 8 out of 10 people have that virus in them, and you never know when it's going to rear its ugly little head.
No, because it lays dormant for so long as well, and you don't know what types of HPV you might have, and you could have several types. You could have the high risk types that do cause cancer. Yeah,
and I think there was a kind of a stigma attached to, because it's related, considered sexually transmitted
disease.
And the cancers that it's associated with, and so so sometimes it's like I have made doctors blush a couple times, because it's like, well, those darn BJs. I go, beep.
Right. But yeah, there are specific genital types. There's, like we had said earlier, there's over 200 types, but these are genital types that affect the mucosa. So not the outer skin, but the mucosal moist skin inside. So that's throat, vagina, cervix,
anus,
different places. So yeah, but again, treatable.
And I think the thing is, the kind of scary thing when you think about it is that it can lay dormant for years, decades.
Well, I remember you telling me, because you had your partner, when you told your partner.
Yes.
And then what was his response?
I gave this to you, didn't I?
Right? You would feel guilty about it.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, we don't know. Because you can pass it on from one partner to the other, and relationships that...
Right, 20-something years ago.
In my 20s. Had fun in my 20s.
We had fun in our 20s.
Yeah. We sure did. Sorry, Mom.
Oh, no. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Mom, up there.
Yeah, up there.
Yes. Love you. Yeah. So, I think that's there is sometimes some people had a hard time talking about it.
Right. And just saying oral sex is a way that you can get HPV. So there's no shame involved in it. It's a regular part of normal sex lives.
Yeah.
And you just have to, as we'll get into in a little bit, focus on prevention.
And HPV is, once again, the most common sexually transmitted infection.
That's right.
It's a virus. You got a virus. And unfortunately, your virus was the kind that was high risk and turned into cancer. And that's unfortunate. But on that note, then what advice would you give maybe to a younger generation?
Well, I think the thing with HPV was that it really hasn't been around.
It's been around.
It's been around. It's been around,
yeah.
but we haven't done. There hasn't been a lot of.
Isn't that amazing?
Research, like since like in the 70s they started looking at it,
right,
and then really realizing more in the 80s and the 90s that this is a bigger deal than we thought, and
because I even remember being in oncology and not even relating the head and neck cancers to HPV. I mean. That wasn't that long ago. Well, maybe.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah.
Or penile cancer. That was the big one. That was the one we were waiting for, so we could have more resources thrown. As soon as it got to the male population,
then
more.
Throw some money.
You better look at this.
Yeah.
It was like they were trying to. The American Cancer Society was kind of their big thing that they were pushing, was getting HPV vaccine, because they came out with the Gardasil vaccine.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing. And we had, at nursing students, we had them kind of helping getting the word out. We did a big Relay for Life thing and did a display of kind of telling about HPV and trying to get the information out to the parents.
Because you do have to vaccinate your kids so young.
So, yes. And that's the thing, before they're sexually active.
Yeah. Yes.
Which can be, they like from 9 up until now they're doing it before they get into the 7th grade. Right, is what they're doing. So that's been such a big thing, but still so many parents didn't know much about it and were a little leery.
Not afraid to say I had both my son and my daughter vaccinated when they were 11 or 12.
Yep, as did I.
As did I.
Yes.
Had we had it, I wouldn't have had to go through what I had to go through.
That's exactly why we wanted to have you here, making that exact statement. Yes.
Thank you for saying that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's true. Had that vaccine been around,
you never would have gotten the
No.
HPV. Or you would have gotten it, excuse me, it is a virus.
Yeah.
We all got it.
we have it.
You would have had the tools in your immune system to fight it and have it not turn into...
And I think that's I was thinking about this. It's like, so we have your pediatricians who most of our kids have had the same pediatricians since they were born. And these pediatricians have followed our kids and made the best decisions for our kids, and we trusted them. And then all of a sudden, some of these people that are like anti-vaxxers are like, well, no, this can't be good for my kid. And I'm like, well, why do you think your pediatrician, who you've trusted with your kids' lives, all of a sudden, why would they want to do something that wouldn't be good for them?
Mm.
You know, and they trust the science and the clinical trials and everything, that the work that's gone behind all these vaccines are just amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
Great.
And the stats show it, that this has made all of the cancers go down and everything associated with HPV.
Yeah. Well, and a good point about the parents, because I did have some teenage kids that came in for different things, for GYN things with me. And sometimes the moms would come in too. And when I would always try to offer the vaccine, so Gardasil was the one that we used in our clinic. And sometimes the moms would say no. And then, you know, they have to say, well, when you're 18, you can get it. It's up to, if you can do whatever your parents say, but,
You can make an informed
18,
decision when you're 18.
you
the
can
research.
get to make your own choice when you're 18. But so don't have sex.
Yeah.
Hold on. Wait for that vaccine.
Knees together, as my mom used to say, knees together, ankles crossed.
And mouths closed. Let's add that one out.
Or forget all that and have fun, ladies.
Yes.
That's what I'd say. Yeah.
Either that, girls, or you're going to say, excuse me, it's really nice to meet you. I really like you, but can I see your vaccination papers?
Oh, there you go.
Absolutely.
What vaccines have you had? Gardasil. Okay.
Right. Okay.
And as always, use condoms.
Yes.
Yes.
And that means you can have dinner. It's just like, oh, okay, I saw your card. You're allowed to take me to dinner.
I was wondering what you meant by that.
Yo, Beth. Yo.
No.
It's like, where'd she go with that one?
Where's she going?
Last had that one.
Oh, out of the gutter. My goodness. Yeah. Thank you. Anything else that we didn't ask you or that you'd like to say to our listeners?
Let's see. I think part of, it's like thinking back on my career and being an oncology nurse for so many years, I was always thinking I'm helping, my patients understand the side effects of chemo. Here's what might happen. When I was diagnosed, I really was able to communicate to my patients better. It was like I felt, because I had been through what they had been through, and I was able to. Maybe I had a little more credibility,
Right.
a little more empathy towards what they were going through. And after I kind of went through everything, it was like I was able to kind of look back and reflect and think, you know what? I think things happened for a reason. And I think towards the end of my nursing career, it was a gift to be able to say, you know what, I've been there, done that. You can make it through this. I did it. You can do it. And then just to share my experience, strength, and hope with others that, you know what, you're not alone. When you're going down this journey, ask for help. Let people help you, because a lot of people, when you hear that cancer word, whatever type of cancer it is, people, you feel like they're leaving you alone and they've abandoned you. But a lot of times they're uncomfortable and they don't know what to say.
Yeah.
They're like, and they feel like they don't say anything because they're afraid they're going to say the wrong thing. So if people start offering help, let them in. Let them be part of your journey, whether it's pick up something at the grocery store or pick up a prescription or
Drive you to the appointment.
Drive you to the appointment. Let them be a part of it. And trust your medical team, because they're there. Honestly, they've worked with so many patients that have gone through what you've gone through. They've seen it. They know what works, what doesn't work, and clinical trials. This is why science is so important, because I've seen in my 25 years of nursing, I've seen what oncology cancer treatment has gone from.
Evolved.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
With all the new treatments and everything, it's like it's a game changer, and it's not a death sentence.
No.
You know, but you gotta take some direction, and you gotta trust the experts.
Trust the experts.
Trust. Yes.
Yeah.
So this has been wonderful. I love you guys. This is
I love you.
I love you,
just
Mickey.
thank you guys. I hope this gives somebody, out there, a little more clarity.
Yeah.
On that you're not alone.
Just appreciate your openness and honesty and your ability to be so vulnerable about such a difficult time, but your resilience is just off the charts. And, we look up to you.
Thank you, girls.
Always have, always will.
Yeah.
Back at you.
Love you. Thank you.
Hey, girls.
Survey says, as we mentioned, we surveyed 100 people split evenly by gender with a history of HPV or HPV-related cancer, just like Mickey.
Yeah.
And got some eye-opening insights into their experiences.
We primarily focused on how informed they felt at the time of their diagnosis and their ability to then turn around and explain this information to their partners.
So notably, 2/3 felt uninformed at diagnosis. Yeah, resulting in low confidence when trying to unpack HPV with their partners. So, it's important to get factual information and avoid myths and hype. Make sure you have trusted resources you can direct your partner to for additional information, which you can find, Sandi, in our show notes.
Yeah, perfect. And just remember, an HPV diagnosis is not a reflection on you, your character, your values, and conversations with partners should not be viewed as making a confession or offering an apology.
In fact, most respondents reported that trust in their relationships remained the same or even improved.
I love that. And that gives me hope that people are really getting some education.
Yeah, some more good news. 80% of participants noted that their relationships either strengthened or remain unchanged after the HPV diagnosis, and they became more open in discussing sexual health following the experience.
That's so great. Yeah, it goes to show that educating yourself about HPV can help you provide accurate information, not only for yourself, but for your partner too. So congrats for listening to this podcast.
Yay.
Go forth and educate.
I like it. All right, listeners, time for the summary. Bad news.
Wah, wah, wah.
Versus good news.
Yay!
Bad news. 85% of you will get HPV in your lifetime.
Good news, most of you with good immune systems will clear it out within 1 to 2 years, and you will likely have no symptoms.
Bad news, some of you will get symptoms like genital warts.
Good news, this is treatable.
Bad news, some of you will get the high-risk type, which may turn into cancer in 10 to 30 years.
Good news, there is a vaccine which prevents infection from these potentially cancer-causing types.
Bad news, a lot of you are too old to qualify for the vaccine.
Like us. Good news, you still have your irregular screenings. I'm Sandy.
And I'm Beth.
And if you have a vagina or know someone who does, then please like, share, and send them our way.
You can find us on all podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube.
Bye, everyone.
And get vaccinated.